Well, time now for us to get into the papers with former president of the Ghana Journalists Association, Affail Monney. But before we do so, this segment is always brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, and they are offering, if you're a man, prostate screening for free. If you're a woman, fertility screening for free. Here's where you can locate them. Here in Accra, at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard. There's also Kumasi Kronumabwe here behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's Takrady Anaji State coming back into the Greater Accra region. They are in Tema Community 22. They are in Techiman, Hanswa, and Siamanzama. Their call lines 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. Just the start, though, of the news review. Let me say a very good morning to Affail Monney. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Chief.
It's good to have you. It's been a while.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Great, great. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. I'd just like to, to set the foundation or lay the foundation for the conversation we're about to have. Yes, we'll get into the papers, but it's not always we get to interact with you. So I'd like to find out from you. When you look at journalistic practice in Ghana today, when you look at the practice of it, when you look at remuneration, when you look at the attractiveness of the sector, what would you say? And again, you have been there, done that as president. How do you see the Ghana Journalists Association faring today?
First of all,
I've thrown quite a hot potato at you, but I just want to...
Journalism in the past and what we are witnessing now, and my special focus will be on remuneration. They said that journalism is not a cash-rich profession, but a risk-prone profession. This means that journalism is a calling, and once you are called, irrespective of the conditions, irrespective of the adverse conditions in which you find yourself, you deliver. Our working hours are endless. Our environment is brusque. Our deadlines are incessant. And even in the face of deep-set fatigue, we are obliged to deliver peak performance. So it's an insult for journalists to endure all these stresses, only to be paid a pittance. And in some worst-case scenarios, journalists are not paid at all. And as the local parlance quotes, man must eat or man must survive. And the survival instinct is what pushes certain journalists to go to the criminal height, to dupe, to blackmail, and to do everything possible to survive. This is not to justify the criminality perpetrated by certain class of journalists, but to amplify the need to take a hard and long look at the conditions of service for journalists in order to fix this critical issue. So I was overjoyed when I heard the Speaker of Parliament yesterday underlining the need for a better salary structure for journalists. This is not to blow my own horn, but I have the freedom to bell. We started a process during my presidency to unionize the Ghana Journalists Association. So as you speak, GJA is unionized, meaning we have the power to intervene in situations of unfairness in terms of remuneration and other issues. But the fact is that we don't have the bargaining power. So what we need to do as an addition to unionization is to matriculate our unionized status to one with the bargaining power, like Ghana Medical Association, like NAS, like that, so that we demand adequate compensation for the work put in by journalists. On the other question of how the GJA is faring, they've been in office for 1 year now. So I believe journalists are best judges of how the association is run. But it is, I would say that it's early days yet. Let's continue to keep hope alive that will push to a higher pedestal in terms of serving the needs of our members.
Interesting, reactions to these questions. I beg of you, just indulge me further, just briefly on this point, and then we shall get into the papers. I'd like to find out then, what is your reaction? Because it is clear that our newspapers, for example, you can almost determine that if I pick X paper on the same story, on the same political issue, if I pick X paper, the rhetoric is going to be X. And if I pick Y paper, the rhetoric is going to be Y, rather than a reflection of the hard truth. And it is the same with radio and television, the broadcast media as well. And especially in recent years, we have had people say, Asemesi, X or Y person is simply oblivious to the facts, the reality on the ground. I don't want to mention names, of course, out of respect, but this person is on your television screen and this person is spewing a lot of hogwash, a lot of horse feathers, because the reality versus what this person is saying are diametrically opposed. In other words, when you look at the platforms we have are supposed to be used to inform, to educate. Yet, it appears in some quarters it is misinformation, intentional misinformation. How do we tackle that?
Journalism or journalists are educated to echo what Joseph Pulitzer once said. And at the time he made this statement about 300 years ago, the practice, it was customary, it was fashionable, so to speak. It was fashionable to train journalists by osmosis, that to train on the job. The number of well-structured institutions as we have now is minuscule as compared to the present situation. So when Joseph Pulitzer made this statement, it was pelted with all kinds of rubber stones for igniting a huge furore. But now he's been proved right. The complexities, the challenges, the expectations of consumers of media content are such that we have no choice than to deliver. But it is sad that journalism is a unique profession, unlike medicine, where you have to pass your medical examination before you practice medicine, unlike PA, when you can only practice when you are called, when you pass the medical exams as a lawyer. But journalism is that everybody, the our laws do not frown on who does not qualify or who qualifies to practice journalism. And under our own constitution, Article 21(1)(f) and Universal Declaration of Human Rights, they all state that everybody has the right to receive and disseminate information. So as a result, we have all manner of people, whether educated or not educated, whether elected or unelected, people with all kinds of agendas, some righteous and some evil, invading the media space to pursue their own agendas. And as a result, orientations differ, but I've said it and it bears repeating that journalists should never take readers and viewers and listeners for granted. Many are more educated than we are. Many are more discerning than we are. And many are more intelligent than we are as journalists. So, many listeners, and viewers, and readers have developed psychological resistance to what is shared out by certain people because they know what to say on every issue. Their mind is so made up. They are so one-sided in the analysis, so one-sided in whatever they say, to the extent that some will only conclude, some viewers, some listeners, some readers will conclude before they even set eyes or listen to what certain journalists say. So unsurprisingly, certain many media houses, all media houses have their orientations.
Right.
Multiple has its orientation. GBC has its orientation. State media has a typical state media. GBC has its orientation. And because of the rapid invasion of the media space, many of them are doing politics. And let me say, without any fear of contradiction, that majority of stories on the front pages are planted. And they are planted for propaganda purposes. And let me recall what American journalist once said, that he told that during his stay in Ghana, he's realized that newspapers in Ghana do not reflect reality. In other words, our newspapers are not a mirror of reality. They skew certain stories to achieve certain purposes. And thus, unlike a few media houses which are symbols of aggressive neutrality, like multimedia, like City and others, many of them toe certain lines for pecuniary or for partisan reasons.
Well, it's quite a situation, but we'll have to find a way of resolving it moving forward. Thank you for those initial reflections. But let's get into the newspapers now, and I'll start with the Daily Graphic newspaper. It says, BC takes off smoothly, 57 prisoners, juvenile inmates sit exam. There's also 2022-2023 scholarships. Get Fund gives to more local students. Researchers develop model for chronic pain management, and there are lots of people suffering different kinds of chronic pain. It's a story I want to get into on page 13. But then in other stories in the Daily Graphic newspaper this morning, inside Africa, Niger junta closes airspace, refuses to reinstate president. The time has elapsed when President Muhammadu Buhari had threatened martial or military action. Of course, that was jettisoned by the Senate in Nigeria. There's also danger looms. College and community appeals for toilet facility, and there is the fear of the outbreak of an epidemic there on the back of open defecation in that community in the Yellow Krobo municipality in the eastern region. Empowering parents to give better care to children with autism. That story is on page 11, and some of these issues we pay scanty, very little attention to as a people, and it is worrying. Japan raises concerns over Iran's nuclear enrichment, and there is public cautioned against skin bleaching. For the life of me, I cannot get it. I think that colonial mindset of light-skinned is better is still with us. And, the other day, many months ago, I saw a picture of certain prominent people from back when they were in school. And it was only the gentleman who had retained his skin color. All the ladies in that picture, there was one gentleman and a number of ladies, about 4 or 5 of them. All of them somehow had transmogrified into very light-skinned people, when in fact, if you look at their skin tone back then, it was very dark. And some would say, oh, we are toning, but the hydroquinone, I'm sure that is it, and all these other chemicals that I use. Do you know what they do to your skin? Anyway, just me getting off on that. I see you want to say something. Go ahead before we get into that first story.
We always say that a black is beautiful, and God in His superlative wisdom has given each and every person the skin he or she deserves, the skin which will best suit his or her personality.
Yeah.
But it's sad that even educated people, take delight in bleaching. And let me say again, I know this from rattles of feathers, but let me say that even journalists are not whiter than white or purer than pure when it comes to maintaining their original complexion.
I agree.
And it seems many of our ladies who appear on television screen will prefer to look whiter or brighter than the original color God who created them gave them. It is so sad. And sometimes you see a mismatch between the complexion of their faces and their fingers. And the other day I saw a lady, the original color of a lady who I had perceived to be a bruni, only to discover that all this while that lady was bleaching to the extreme. So our job is not only to inform, but also to educate.
Right.
As journalists, we occupy a higher moral ground. We should model the way for others to emulate in terms of not only speaking, but in terms of leading lives so that others see us and give glory to our Maker. So this is a wake up call to our female counterpart. Please, we know you are beautiful. There's no question about that. And it hasn't been proven that white is more beautiful than black. It's like no, it's your own perception. No, it's your own view. So please, we should do the right thing for our viewers to emulate.
Well, let's get into some other stories. 2022-23 scholarships, Get Fund gives to more local students. Let me just take a quick look at that story. And the Ghana Education Trust Fund has awarded new scholarships to 4,279 students of various universities and colleges in the country. This time, more scholarships were awarded to applicants studying in local universities and colleges, a major shift from previous years when Get Fund scholarships were awarded in favor of Ghanaian students studying abroad. The number of successful applicants this year is 63% higher than the 2,704 recipients for the last year. Last Tuesday, the fund paid 25.3 million Ghana cedis of the annual fees on behalf of the awardees enrolled in undergraduate, graduate, and postgraduate programs of various universities. Definitely a positive step. But let me add a few stories and let you respond to them, Affail Monney. So let's go to, I think that story on, is it page 13? If not, before I go to pages 28 and 29, let me just turn to page 13. Now, where are you? Okay, so let's get there. And of course, BEC takes off smoothly. 57 prisoners, juvenile inmates sit exam. But I promised to do this one. A team of researchers has developed a new model of care for persons 50 years and above who live with multiple chronic health conditions to help improve their quality of life. The chronic conditions include diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, arthritis, and respiratory disorders. Focused on Africa, the team developed the model theory of change around the findings of a research conducted to identify gaps in primary palliative care for the aging population who are confronted with multiple chronic conditions. The research conducted in Ghana, Malawi, and Zimbabwe on the topic multi-morbid aging primary palliative care was also to find out how to improve on such care in terms of staff workforce capacity and patients' families. Finally, I'll go to pages 28 and 29, and that's how I'll cap it off as far as the Daily Graphic is concerned. Public cautioned against skin bleaching. The general public has been cautioned against the use of chemical solutions to peel their skin. That is what you actually do when you bleach. You're peeling your skin, as well as unsafe use of injectable glutathione in a bid to improve skin appearance. Such practices posed significant risk to users because of their side effects, which included skin cancer, toxic effects on the liver, kidneys, and nervous system, as well as other serious skin reactions. The medical director of the Rabito Clinic Limited, Dr. Koma Steam Jihu Apia, who made the call, said most people did not know the side effect of their actions, and it was unfortunate that in their bid to enhance skin appearance, for varied reasons, rather ended up paying a heavy price with their health. Some people are also not aware. Let me just add this. Your largest organ is your skin. The largest organ in your body is your skin. So imagine if you suffer skin cancer or some skin ailments, what that could do to you. And finally, Professor Oduro, free SHS policy, red flags were ignored. Professor Oduro is a professor of educational leadership at the University of Cape Coast, and he is saying red flags for free SHS were ignored. Over to you, Affail Monney.
Let me sprinkle a standard recommendation on the researchers who have come up with a solution to diabetes and other diseases which threaten people in the twilight of their living. And diabetes is not restricted to the aged. Even children, contract diabetes at tender ages, and thus impair their growth, distance their growth, and thus also inhibit their development advancements in various dimensions of life. So we commend them most highly. We hope that what they come out to be amplified in media, and the right authorities also honor them, because any society which doesn't honor its heroes is always dying for. So this should be taken up strongly. On the issue of Get Fund, it is a travesty of fairness that local students who struggle financially to go through tertiary education, whose parents squeeze water out of stone to see them through higher education, are ignored when it comes to Get Fund allocations. And it's better late than never. And we are happy that this historic wrong has now been righted. We are told that the percentage has gone upwards. We pray that more students who are facing financial difficulties in accessing tertiary education will be targeted by the Get Fund in order to ease this burden. We all struggle to school, and we know how difficult it is to fight poverty, whilst at the same time trying to pass our exams. So the step has come at the right time, and we commend the Get Fund for this laudable initiative. Let me go back to the skin bleaching. We journalists, we ought to serve as evangelists and apostles of maintaining our color and avoiding the risks which come with skin bleaching. Now, Professor Dele, my good friend and brother, has been virtually a lone voice in this crusade. So the media should take this up with all tenacity and intensity to ensure that we win the war against skin bleaching and sentence the perpetrators to premature death. As we told, it's an open invitation to cancer. And we all know how dangerous cancer is. So we should say no to cancer by saying no to bleaching.
Interesting thoughts. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. I thought you had landed. My apologies. Go ahead.
On Niger, it's interesting. Been following with keen interest what is unfolding in the West African state. ECOWAS has its image at stake. To be brutally frank, ECOWAS' image has been in tatters. So this is a right opportunity for ECOWAS to spruce up its image by passing the tests posed by Niger. They need to square the option to invade Niger with the reality on the ground. And the reality is that it will not make sense for ECOWAS to invade Niger at this point in time. Many analysts have spoken against this option. The recent condemnation of this option has come from ITUC Africa, the umbrella body of workers in Africa. They came out stridently against the coup in Niger, which we all condemn.
Right.
But at the same time, they've amplified the voices of reason by saying that the situation in Niger is so fluid, is so problematic, is so dangerous for ECOWAS to even think of military action in that country. We are an essential member of ECOWAS. Ghana is a key. In fact, Ghana and Nigeria are virtually the drivers and shakers and movers of ECOWAS. This is a time for us to be extra cautious.
Right.
We should view whatever decision taken by the military in West Africa with the highest circumspection. There's a need to ingest the highest dose of circumspection.
Right.
In whatever action ECOWAS intends to take in Niger. We are told they'll meet again on Thursday. Please, they should give dialogue another chance. The delegation they sent to Niger was snubbed. They were not able to meet the military leader. But failing to try after failing is not a sign of weakness.
Okay.
But leadership, and every leader should not be afraid to change course when confronted realities which contradict.
And those realities, I am sure we will have to, owing to the passage of time. I just want us to get into other stories. But interesting points you're making, and those realities we'll have to deal with, because we've seen the effect in Mali, in Guinea, in Burkina Faso, and whatever endeavors we have tried. The Daily Guide, for example, captures how the Niger junta shut its airspace, which it has done, snubbing, or snobbing, if you like, the leadership of ECOWAS as critical deadline expires. Basically, Niger is adopting a bit of a stance, and the junta held a rally in Niamey, and thousands of supporters thronged there. The question, though, is where Western and Central Africa are headed. 7 coups d'etats between 2020 and now, and only God knows what is next. But let's quickly make tracks from there as we wrap the conversation in some 2-3 minutes. The Daily Guide, other stories here. I am highest ranked NDC member, that's according to Bagbin. There's Muhammad Jabs Nana after blowing 200 million on Saglemi project. That's what the Daily Guide says. That's how it couches it. But and that has to do with Muhammad criticizing this administration for pumping so much money into the National Cathedral project and abandoning Saglemi. And the NDC has had cause to say that if no private investor should take Saglemi up, because if you do, and should we come to power, we're going to reassess that situation and you could have your fingers burnt. But I found this story very interesting. I want to get into it. ABA, that is the African Bar Association, honors Akufo-Addo. I want us to pay attention to why. Now, the African Bar Association, at its 2023 annual conference in Pretoria, South Africa, conferred a Medal of Merit in Leadership Award on President Akufo-Addo. President of the association, Hannibal Egbe Waifo, said President Akufo-Addo is, quote, a Pan-Africanist, anti-corruption crusader, a rare democratic leader in the field of good governance, a true African statesman whose legacies present African leaders must emulate, and we are minded to say will stand the test of time. While no one is all negative and no positive, and while I could give our president his credit on some points, I really don't know about rare democratic leader and anti-corruption crusader. But this is just me. Then there is also the Finder newspaper, and you know me, I say it as it is. I don't hide my feelings. I'm not one of those sycophants who will play this and add that. What you see is what you get. What I think is what you hear. I don't sugarcoat it. That's me. The Finder newspaper, Shraj spent 2.1 million Ghana cedis wrongly. Auditor General orders recovery and refund. That's the final story I'll look at. So the Auditor General has directed the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice to recover and refund 2.1 million Ghana cedis paid illegally. It comprises illegitimate allowance and honorarium, 1.4 million Ghana cedis, unearned salaries, 21,045 Ghana cedis, ineligible housing allowances over 241,000 cedis, and ineligible domestic allowances over 479,000 cedis. Quick thoughts, and we're gone. Affail Monney.
A boat rusts, what will iron do? And unfortunately, that strike has been caught, doing something illegal. And I'll urge my good friend, the strike boss, to do the needful by rectifying whatever went wrong. This reinforces the point that strike is a human institution. And like all human institutions, perfection is an impossible. But by virtue of what they do, by virtue of the law which empowers them, they should always be above reproach.
Right.
That's my synoptic advice to strike. And another issues like Mahama and Saga, it remains inexplicable and unacceptable that this project was abandoned for 7 years. At the time, the housing deficit was so mighty. At the time, many workers have been forced to dwell in ramshackle structures just to lay their heads. But this is not to shut the door to new projects. We ought to do what is right by fixing what has gone wrong with cycling, quite at the same time.
Right.
Establishing more dwelling places for the generality of Ghanaians.
Well, thank you so much, Affail Monney, for joining the conversation this morning. It's been a true honor, sir. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much. And may you continue to raise the banner of objective journalism.
Thank you, sir. I am grateful. And that is Affail Monney, former president of the Ghana Journalists Association. Right before we go, at least some of you sent in messages. Ayuba Oseini, some of you, when you add the political messages to the good morning and the rest, I will not read them, whether in favor of this or that side. I don't read such messages, unless we're having a political conversation. This one says, Ayuba Oseini, AM show, good morning. Well, good morning right back at you. Happy first birthday. I didn't see this yesterday, so I'm getting to it today. Belated happy birthday wishes. Happy first birthday to my daughter, Akosia Drowa Jumo Ajeman. Yaminsha will kindly do this on your show for me, you said. Kwame Jumo Ajeman, I hope you're well, my brother. Happy first birthday to our daughter, let me put it that way. Akosia Drowa Jumo Ajeman. We pray you age fabulously, growing in wisdom in the Lord and with his favor. Finally, before we go, Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic helping us to bring you this segment. They are offering free prostate screening, free fertility screening if you're a woman. Locate them here in Accra at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard. Kumasi, Kronoma Boyhia behind the Angel Educational Complex. Takrade Anaji State, Tema Community 22. Techiman Hanswede Siaman Zama. Their call lines 0244 867-068 or 0274-234-321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. If you're looking for more in sports, the sporting world, whether you're thinking football or whatever else it is, that is going to be served to you right up next with Muftau Nabila Abdullah. Do stay.